Hi everyone, welcome to another video. In this one, we're getting the Alfa 147 ready for our trip to the UK, and that means we're doing some improvements and also fixing some issues. So, stay tuned. One of the first things that we're gonna do in this car is make sure that we can actually listen to our music, in a format that people actually use in 2024, which is not CDs, as you might notice. I just bought a Bluetooth adapter. There was a guy in a forum that said that this worked in his car, and it was a bit more expensive than others that I've seen online, but those 5-10 years extra, given that it had been recommended, they are worth it to me. So the way this works, I didn't want to remove this radio from here because, as you can see, we have these rounded corners, and I think that an aftermarket radio in here looks hideous. I don't think double DINs are as hideous, but they are a bit more black on the silver. I don't like the contrast in particular. I think the screen is too low compared to where it should be. It should be around here, and it's where it is in modern cars, actually. And you would lose your cup holder. I mean, it's the first car that I own that has a cup holder, so I don't want to lose it, So the solution was to buy this thingamajig that plugs where the CD changer would plug originally in the radio. Right, so let's open this. This is the microphone. This is the adapter itself. And the tools. And this goes in here. And in theory, you just do this and it comes off. A good surprise, all of the plugs have some sort of tape around them to prevent unwanted noises. Now, there's only one way. There's more than one way this will fit. Guess we're looking at the instructions after all. So my issue is that we have these cables where we should have, the plug for the CD changer. I'm going to remove the other ones and see. I mean, this seems to have been glued, so it is a mess, so I need to see what exactly we're dealing with. And that's what I expected. Some people should refrain from tinkering with cars. That's good glue. That is out, but we still have one here. And yeah, we need to clean all of this. Annoying. That's exactly what I wanted to be doing now. Cleaning gunk and trying not to damage the connectors. We're almost there, as you can see. And this is why it's never a 5-minute job. Never. Now, one of our guys seems to be a little bit distorted, but we're gonna see if the plug works that way. Yeah, I think that's the issue. There were 2 drops of solder, on the pins, which made it impossible for this plug to be plugged in there. Spoiler alert, it's already in there. It took me around 20 minutes trying to sand that. I don't know if that's the word. Sand that out until it was finally thin enough in order for me to be able to plug it, and it was a bit difficult plugging it. Required a bit of pressure. But it's now in there, everything is plugged up, and now, let's see if I don't scratch anything. Now, if we turn the car on, the radio will come on, or maybe not. We don't actually need the car on, we can turn this alone. The radio is on. I'm going to click here because it's the Blue Music thing. It's gonna connect with Bluetooth eventually, I hope. It's taking a while. The other phone was also with the Bluetooth on, so that's why it wasn't able to actually connect. We should be good now. Okay. Now we come here we change it to the changer here and should be good. Will it start? Maybe not, but I'm gonna make it start. Okay, no need. Actually, it did on its own. Okay, it passed to another song. I don't know why it shows Madonna, but you know, that works. Now, I can still obviously use the commands in here, which is great. Can we move to the next one? I don't think we can. Oh, we do. That's great. Very nice. Next one. Spotify won't let me change a lot, but yeah, that's very nice. And the sound is okay, given that this is the stock system and this is not the Bose version. So yeah, much cheaper than doubled-in system. We retain the original radio, and yeah, really happy with that. I also have the microphone to install, so I can actually make calls. I'm trying to understand what would be the best way of routing this. Maybe it could come this way, and I could put it here somewhere. Or maybe I could do as I've done in the Rover and put it in there, but I found that sometimes I have to speak a bit louder for people to understand me. We're gonna see how easy it is to, well, make the cable go where we want it to go. I've decided to use fabric tape for this cable so that it doesn't make any unwanted noises, and I've done the same for the interface cable. It didn't have any yet. Now it's just a matter of plugging everything in. It's already dropping at the end. You can see it, but I can from here. Just need to put the cable for the antenna in place, and we should need to come here again. That's just... that's cracked there. I didn't do it. Maybe all of the pressure that I've needed to do. Actually, that is a much better place for the microphone, and you won't even see it. We already have some weird action going in here. Those lights are not original. Probably you have already noticed that. They already came with the car. And the way they are wired up, they are on all the time, which I don't like. We'll probably have to do something about that in the future. For me, they should be linked to the interior lights. When you put on, for example, the mains or the deep beam, and they would turn on, but that's not the case. Whoops, I thought it was actually fixed to one of the sides, not like that. Anyway, how can we get to that section in there? We can't, and there's not enough space for the microphone, so this was a bit of a flop. We're going to just put it back in place, and the way it was like this. I also don't like it that they have no isolation. They are not tidied up in the slightest, and there's one plug that is loose here. Yeah, not very good. If I do this, you can see that there's a shortcut somewhere. Nothing, like a good old bit of zip tie. It seems to not be flashing as much now. I ended up rewiring this as I did in the Rover. It will be here. It's behind here. running all the way behind the dash. You can't even see because it's too dark, but it's just behind there. Then I could have undone that bolt, but I didn't. It's just behind here and it comes through here. I still need to fix it in a better way. Well, it didn't work the first time, but it will have to work now. Let's see if this time we are a bit more successful. Ta-da! It should go something like that. Ooh, a bit scary. Okay. Something else very important that needs doing. I know, right? No car would be complete without this. Yay! Awful. Done. They are fierce. Actually, this one was still sort of good because you have to... I can't even do it with just one hand. You have to do a lot of force for it to finally go down. Yes, so we're saving this one. This was loose except for that one because, as you can see, it's torn here. And what I'm trying to do is, instead of using this, I'll try to use some that are larger. Let's test one. I don't think so. It's too big. Oh no, that's gonna work. And now these two. Oh, there's still one right here. Right. I've moved 4 or 5 times in about 4 or 5 years, and every time I had to pick all of this stuff again, and it was annoying because I wasn't using it at the time, but now it serves a purpose. Right. Another one. Much better. Just have to give it a quick once over with a damp cloth and that should be good. I am a bit annoyed because this morning the window stopped going up. If I put this on the ignition, let me check. The only thing it does is go down when you try to go up, and nothing happens when you come here because they are, you know, very, very loose. That's not ideal when you're driving in the UK and you need this window to work. So I've just come to a scrapyard, found a switch, and I'm going to check if that sorts it. I mean, of course, only the passenger will be able to operate it, but anyway, I'm not driving alone, so that's okay. I didn't show you, but actually this is just a matter of rising it off from here and then pushing it out. These are not very strong, and apparently we have a working window again. Actually never had this button working since I bought the car. It always did this. I would have to get it up using the button on the driver's side, but now that button has stopped working. Anyway, I'm relieved, and this was not expensive. I haven't paid yet. I'm going to do that now, but probably around 18 euros. I'm already home and in my working shirt, which means one thing: there's still something to do in the Alfa, and it's very easy to see what's still to do in the Alfa. Yeah, I'm going to lubricate the plastic pin, which is the source of the noise, and I'm trying to lubricate with PTFE, I think that's why it's called. It's a lubricant for plastics, basically, which is kind of dry, and it's what works best. Let's see if that works, otherwise it could be the bushings, and in that case I'll have to live with that. The idea is to remove that clip over there, and then I think we can actually remove these two over here. I mean, there's just one there, but yeah, we can. And then this should come out this way, the pin. That's out already. It was a matter of lifting it down there to the side and then pushing it up, if that makes sense. Oh god, that's really annoying. Now I think we can just drive it out from this side. It's already coming out. Actually, I see some traces of grease, so he might have actually pulled the pin out. I'm gonna drive it further and see if that's the case, or if it just accessed that area around it. Actually, with the plastic pin out by this much, it almost doesn't do anything. And since it's been really difficult to remove it, I might just give it a bit more of our new spray, and we're gonna pray it helps a little, but I'm not sure it's gonna work. I've been fighting with the clip, that clip, over the last 20 minutes because I wasn't understanding how I could open it so it could slide into the back of the pin. I ended up using this screwdriver in order to open it, and then I just pushed down on it while it was still open, and finally it locked. I hope this makes sense. I just have to put this back in place. Excuse my ugly crocs. I can still hear something there, but it's much better. Success. Good morning. This is exciting times because today the Alfa is finally going to the mechanic 50 kilometers from home, but that's mechanic that I trust with Alfa Romeos. So we have all of the parts that we need in here. I hope there's always something missing. We have, for example, brake pads and front discs that need to be replaced. We have the timing belt there, as you can see, with the water pump, because this one is 7 years old, and I think in this car's Alfa says that it should be replaced every 3 years. That's a bit conservative, but there's an historical of failure in earlier twin sparks, I think because of the tensioner, and they've never actually bumped those numbers up again. Yeah, 7 years old, although it only did 30,000 kilometers with this timing belt. We also have an O2 sensor there because we have an error related to that. Alternator belt, exactly. Air filter, 8 liters of 10W60 oil because the oil it has currently is probably this one. And the engine uses some oil, and people say that in twin spark engines that like a bit of oil, trying a 10W60 is actually a good thing. Sometimes it reduces consumption a little bit. Don't know if this is particularly scientific, but hey. We also have, let me check, powerful there, the coolant, in order for us to replace it, since we are doing the water pump. An oil filter, obviously. And yeah, we have exhaust gaskets here, because I think I have an exhaust leak. And also an intake gasket over here. I don't think that these cars use a gasket for the water pump, that's why there isn't one here. And I'm not sure if they do for the sump, because we're also going to remove it. I'm trying to prevent a big end bearing failure, and we are doing them now, since I just bought the car. I don't know what has happened to it in the past. There are other things that we could do. For example, the gear selector is a bit loose, but I didn't actually find a used part that was suitable. I mean, that didn't also have some sort of play. And the brand new one, it supposedly exists, but Alfa wouldn't tell me when they would deliver it. So that's basically what we are doing. Yeah, you might be able to hear the noise that the disc is making, because it is a narrow lane coming out of my house. Beautiful day though. Actually today it's worse. Our spring has been miserable and the beginning of our summer has been much better. It seems things are improving now. Let me close the window, which is a bit slow. Since this is the last time that I'm driving this car before this maintenance, I wanted to give you my impressions of the driving experience. Just a quick summary before I actually get the car back. So that's what we are doing now. The brakes are good, I can tell you that. Even if they are noisy, as I've told you. The engine is kind of responsive, although you notice that there isn't a lot of torque lowdown, but you know, the gears in these are kind of short, probably in order to make up for that. I don't actually want to give it much beans, because I don't know exactly what oil is in here. I think it's the 10W40 that we have in the boot, but I don't know exactly for how long this has been going. It looks a bit dark, and yeah. There's also a noise that I would say it's probably an exhaust leak. I've heard similar in the past that it was an exhaust leak. I also don't want to give it a lot of stick for now, because we are replacing the big end bearings. It's a common thing in these engines because of oil starvation. It's basically preventative maintenance. So it would be a bit stupid to thrash the engine. And obviously I'm not doing a lot of downshifts and aggressive downshifts, because I'm a bit scared for the timing belt. 7 years for rubber is a bit, but in all honesty, with just me in the car, you don't really have to go much further than 2,500 RPM to make relatively good progress. Not sporty progress, but decent progress. I haven't been able to find the part that eliminates the play I have in the gear shift, but to be honest, it's more annoying in neutral than anything. I can find all of the gears, and that's really not an issue. We're now entering the motorway, which is when it got to 3,000 revs. There, 5th gear, because the gearing is really short. And of course, trying to gain speed in 5th gear going uphill, you feel it's a little bit gutless. But we're still gaining speed. We're doing 90, 100, we're now 105, 110. That's reasonable. It wouldn't be if we had 4 people in here, but I can tell you, it's already better than the Rover. This car has a sunroof, as you've already seen, and you can hear a bit of wind noise coming through the sunroof. Actually, I can still hear a bit of wind noise, but I think it's natural. It's basically the wind going against the car. It seems to be coming from the front. If anything, I think that wind noise coming through the doors with these rubbers here is better than the Rover. And the engine is relatively well soundproofed. Even with this short gearing, I think I hear it less than the Rover. What seems to be a bit worse, and that's an unfair comparison because the Rover has been soundproofed, is tire noise. I think it's a bit worse here. It's bearable, but it's not as good. But I know that they made an effort, because I've seen underneath the back seat and there's a bit of sun deadening and then some felt. The rear wheel arches, they have that sort of material which is not really felt because that would absorb moisture. But yeah, it helps probably dampen gravel and all sort of thing being thrown around by the wheels. Yeah, the sun is now hitting my face, which is not ideal. If you come from a car with a slower rack or maybe with heavier steering, this steering takes a little bit of getting used to, but after you do, it's pretty good. Don't get me wrong, I think it's still a bit too light, but there is some feel and it's really direct. Maybe a bit too direct for motorway work because if you're not used to it, you're turning much more than you really need to. You just need to give it a quick flick and the car is already changing direction. But on the other hand, it makes driving on B roads a really cool experience because it's really fluid. You just have to turn a little bit and there you go. There's a fly inside this car. That's because there are a million flies back at home now. Yeah, we're doing 115, so 70 miles per hour. It's not the most silent place in the world, but it's perfectly decent. In terms of comfort, the motorway is not where you would complain. It's pretty decent here because the suspension doesn't have to do much. These seats, your first impression maybe when you sit compared to other cars like French cars, is that they are a bit firmer, but actually when you are on the go, they're really supportive, and I feel they are going to be a really good companion for longer trips. I also get the impression that after 120 km per hour, it starts getting noisy. Let's check. Well, yeah, you can certainly say that it's not graveling a bit more, but nothing terrible. What more can I tell you? The driving position is really good. You sit relatively low down. Yeah, the sun visors maybe are a bit small. Throttle response, given that I think this is already fly-by-wire and it's obviously a fully injected engine, is actually decent. That's fun. The slopes are smooth. The ones in the Rover are a bit more, they are clunkier. This one are smooth and the sound is modern, you know. I don't particularly like it, but they do their job. I was actually surprised that the car was decent at the back. Of course, if you push the seat all the way back, which you don't need for someone my size, yeah, maybe you can only fit children. The reason I've set you up in there is that we're now leaving the motorway. Ooh, the noise the brakes are making is terrible. And actually, it's not braking very well. If you need to use the brakes for more than a couple of seconds, you know, without lifting off, it starts losing efficiency and making that horrible noise. I hope that's fixed just with the front brakes. The rear ones are a bit dirty, a bit rusty. It's interesting because this might be an Alfa, it should be sport and all that, but to me it feels like a mix between some sportiness but also a nice GT package. It feels like a good companion for longer trips, and actually there are only two things that I would say go a bit against that feeling, which are the gearing. It's a bit short for motorway work, although you don't actually hear the engine that much, but fuel consumption suffers with that. This car is currently doing an average of what, 34 mpg, something like that. It's not horrible. This is for the last, what, 220 kilometers, and it's also been driven in the city. But yeah, this box doesn't help with motorway consumption. And the other one is that a touch more soundproofing in order to lower tire noise would be good. But I don't know if we could ask that from Alfa in 2000. I don't know if other competitors were doing much better. And yeah,